This program was first broadcast on Otago Access Radio and made with the assistance of New Zealand On Air.
Well, John Parsons is an internet safety and risk assessment consultant to schools, the private sector and the health sector, providing specialist advice and direction on the safe use of digital communication technology. He joins me now on the Awesome Morning Show. Thanks for joining us, John. Great to see you.
Good morning.
I suppose it's a timely opportunity to talk with you, given that there's a kind of a component of the use of social media around this whole roastbuster situation we're hearing about. You've established this business, Simulate to Educate, around the issue of cyber safety.
That's correct.
Tell us about the origins of that idea and what placed you in a good position to start up this idea.
It started from an idea that information technology is about functionality and providing service. And the issues that we face are around user behaviour and the decisions that we make. And when we look at these issues like that, we are removed from the idea of IT and how complex it is. And if we focus on people and how they use this technology and relate to others, it points us in a different direction as to the type of education we need to deliver. And I come from a management background many years ago, strategic management, and then I did a degree in information technology. And I have a fascination with organisations and structures and systems in general and how data is exchanged and how information flows in organisations like schools, businesses, hierarchically. I looked at those systems and started to look at the vulnerabilities that we are facing with this technology. And as complexity rises, the issues that we face get more and more. But it always came back to user behaviour and the decisions that we make. If we deal with that, if we see this as an internet health and safety issue and start focusing on people and individuals and how they relate to this technology, we can deal with it.
I imagine that for parents, their blood must run cold when they hear about these cases where social media sites are exposing young people to risk. I suppose what they would want to hear is that there is some hope and that their kids can kind of swim against the tide.
I think that we have to really strip down what the issues really are. There's often a visceral response to what we see in the media. We are overwhelmed by radio, things on TV. We've got this roastbuster incident. And because it's within the context of IT, we think that IT is a major issue. And we've got to step back from that and bring it back to people. And what I'm focusing on really is two parts of this issue: parents' responsibilities and how young people use this technology. And what we're seeing often is, for instance, you made the comment about social media. When you've got a child that's 8 or 9 years of age in Facebook and they've got 1,000 strangers connected to them, I focus more on the parents than the child. They haven't been on the planet long enough to deal with some of the issues that they will face in that social network. So we have to raise awareness in parents to what some of the risks are. And so we do tend to look at how youth use this technology, but we need to look at parents and their relationship to their child in their use of this technology and raise awareness in them.
But like wrestling blobs of mercury, though, I imagine sometimes getting around that big challenge of a young person's natural inclination to kind of believe that parents and teachers' concerns are a bit over the top, right, and they have a natural inquisitiveness. Yeah,
and I think that's fine. And what I don't want to do is turn children into miniature adults. They've got to enjoy their life. This technology is a communication tool, and they have an absolute right to use it, and I support that right. And I don't want to police children on the internet. I want to support them. We've got to be next to them. We've got to be out there with them. The first friend a child should have at age 8 or 9 in Facebook is mum and dad. And as long as they go out there and support them in their use, they can be next to them when things go wrong. When they walk down the street, if they trip up, we don't tie their legs up so they can't walk again. And I want parents out there with them, using the technology. When they make a mistake or they go outside of the values that are not consistent with the family, then parents and caregivers and guardians can say, be careful, and just monitor and help them use the technology. But when they are not there with them, when they are not out there, if you give a child a cell phone at 8 or 9 and never look at the quality of the information they're generating, and then give them Facebook at 10 and never be out there with them, there is this cyber separation starting to occur between the child and the family, and we have to reduce that.
Without an active decision on behalf of a young person to protect themselves,
right,
can a parent realistically kind of put a bubble around a child?
I don't think it's about putting a bubble around them. I think there's two parts. One is that parents need to take what they do as parents from the physical world and find ways to link that to the digital world. For children and young people, we need to teach them how to look after themselves as well. One of the things that frustrates me quite a lot is that there's often this thing that you can't talk to strangers. If we say that to a child, then effectively we stop them from communicating with this technology, because many people on the internet are strangers. What we've got to do is teach them how to talk to strangers, teach them the red flags. You know, there is a very evolved grooming process of predatory people against children. When we go into schools, we don't talk about the grooming process to children that are 10 and 11, but what we do is we look at the stages of that grooming process, and we provide education that helps that child defend themselves should they become into the presence in an online game of a predator. Number one, never give pictures of yourself to strangers. You can say no once in an online game. It is a warning sign for the child, but if that person comes back again and says, no, we'd like a picture, invite the child to think about disconnecting from that person. It's no different to the physical world. If a stranger came up to that child and demanded personal information from them, the child would react appropriately and tell an adult. We need to nurture children and give them skills that they can take out and use this technology when they're on their own.
What do you see as the largest real threat to young people's safety in the cyber world right now?
Depending on the age, if you were to look at youth between the ages of 14 and 16, one of the issues they're facing around employment is employers now go to Google. They go to any opportunity on the internet to look at a person for potential employment. So the child creates a CV. It's got their first name, their last name on, the school that they go to. Over 7 to 8 years, they've created this large digital footprint in all parts of the internet, Facebook, Twitter, online games. When they hand in their CV, the employers now go straight to the internet. They will look at all of these technologies and services, and they will look for any information, including images, on that potential employee. If there are pictures out there that are inappropriate or don't serve that individual well at the interview time, it works against them. So for youth, I'm urging them to start to see that their identity, their online identity, is a major asset for employment, and they've got to learn to look after it and protect it going forward. Also, alongside that, we've got to teach the private sector, organisations and businesses to be less sensitive to some of these pictures. I think that it is unfortunate that young people are judged so severely because of a picture. It doesn't reflect that whole child's life. And if we could see the whole child's life, then we could make an informed opinion. But Facebook or these technologies do not give us that ability, so we should be very careful and not rely too much on it.
Yes, that applies as much to the adults who
There's no question.
their own stuff on Facebook as well.
It's interesting because when I deliver these workshops to young people, we have adults in the room and they receive the education and think about it for themselves as well. The other major issue where I work is in something called sexting. And it's an issue between young people, typically below the age of 16. And if we talk about a boy and a girl relationship, the girl's known the boy for 12 months, and he has requested sexualised pictures from the girl. She sends them to the boy. They go public domain, and then that girl is in a very dangerous position. And I've worked in very, stressful situations on behalf of families where the families have, it's been catastrophic for some families. You can imagine a picture of a girl that's sexualised circulating within the community in which she lives. She becomes traumatized. The home is a very hard environment for her to be in the first few days. I work with that family and the girl to get her back into school. She's at increased risk of being bullied when she goes back to school. The boy that actually requested the picture at the time, he becomes traumatized. If there's no imbalance of power and it's simply a mistake, then both sides of this go through a very serious event for 2 to 3 months. And we need to talk to youth about that. There is no judgment in these workshops, but we need to help them understand that that kind of behaviour will work against them.
One of the possibilities that seems to be emerging from this whole Roastbusters thing is that some of the young girls involved here can probably foresee that kind of threat if they talk about what they're doing.
Can you explain that further?
Well, in terms of what we've heard, the police have been told that some of these young women have spoken to them in the past and about what they've been subjected to,
right,
but haven't been prepared to make a formal complaint. Part of the component of that might be that they're aware of just how quickly messages about their behaviour can get out there in the community because of digital technology.
Yeah, I mean, I can't comment on, I won't comment on anything to do with anything that could be reported to the police or their processes on that, but I think that any time we have a victim of a serious assault or abuse of any kind, then often they have concerns about the process ahead for them. And I don't see these situations as any different to the traditional kinds of abuse that we see. I do believe that is a real concern for people. And, of course, when these things leak onto the internet and become available, their life expectancy can grow, and their ability to reach, a large group of people effortlessly is increased.
What makes for a real threat? What are the factors that are usually present in an online threat that makes it successful, for want of a better word?
To commit a crime, or?
Well, just in terms of the kinds of things that you're encouraging children to guard against.
Okay, I think first of all what we have to see is that rather than just look at a child and their how they use the technology, there is a shared responsibility to how we use this technology today. If you've got a child that's 10 to 15 years of age and they've got a Facebook or a social media account and they've got 1,000 people connected to them and they talk about where they're going on holiday and the date that they go away, if there's a burglar within that social network, it allows them to target the home for burglary. And there is evidence coming forward now that that is actually happening. So although we're looking at providing good digital boundaries around a child, those boundaries and that knowledge includes how their behaviour can affect other people. So it is learning to be more discreet when we use this technology. Understanding that if we lose control of ourselves and start venting with anybody on the internet, that information stays there. And if it gets back to employers in the future, then it can work against us. We need to understand that this technology is a very efficient form of communication and treat it with a lot more respect. Young children, young boys and girls, it is about making them understand that you really can't know who somebody truly is on the internet. You may have played in a game with them for 12 months and you feel that you know them very well. And out of 10 people that you've met in that circumstance, 9 will be perfectly normal and, acceptable people to communicate with. But that one person can be a predatory male. And it isn't always about contact offending. We think about paedophiles reaching out to young people and trying to meet them in the community. Often these predators are looking for pictures, sexualized pictures of children. And that they'll create a relationship with the child, they'll start to talk to them, they'll get the sexualised pictures, and they are used for their own gratification, or they're unsold for magazines. So we've got to teach young people to understand how valuable they are as individuals, and that their pictures and images are valuable to them and their family.
So tell us about the methodologies that you use to build this resilience in young people.
We deliver values-based internet health and safety education. We step back from functionality and we look at the choices individuals make when they use this technology. When we go into schools, we start at age 8 and we start doing these 4-hour modules with them, and we take them through specific stages of how they use this technology. We talk about their use of a cell phone and how to use it, to seek permission of each other before you take pictures. Never take a picture of a friend secretly without their knowledge and show them after. So it is about giving them good key messages about how they use the technology. We talk about social media, social networks. We talk about the risks that are posed on the family when they send out information that is private to the family. And these may sound like simple messages, and in truth they are. But we have stepped back from IT functionality and we are looking more at user behaviour as the issue.
So we're talking about values around respect and common decency and
Correct.
so on. So is this something that we're not doing a good job of in general?
I don't think that's the case. I mean, I do see from time to time in the media that the world is being reflected as a place that's going out of control. I meet marvellous adults and young people every day in my work that do marvellous things on behalf of each other. I think the problem that we have with this technology is that it does change our behaviour in many cases. When we see somebody in the street that may need help, for instance, we are often motivated to go over and help them. When you've got young people in a social network and they see one particular person being bombarded with mean-spirited words or, aggressive content, they look at that situation and often they feel separated from it. What we've got to do is encourage them not to respond or defend that person in that social media space, but perhaps talk to them the next day at school. Go up to them and say, do you need help? Can we do anything to help you? We should see that digital situation as no different to a physical one. So I think those are the key messages that we need to bring out.
How do you monitor the efficacy of your program?
That's a very difficult thing to do. I mean, we've been running it now for 5 years. We have very good information and evidence coming back to us from parents and children that it has changed their behaviours in many ways. And often the change comes either from a strategic decision, because people realise that if they put pictures up that work against them at interview time, they won't get the job, so they stop. Also, people become very ethical in how they use this technology. And the interesting thing about that is that both ways of changing behaviour have the same outcome, which is positive. So in the last 5 years, we've got good evidence coming forward through evaluation, through schools. These programs are starting to expand more and more. And that is basically on referral and, how efficient this module is starting to become. I do get concerned sometimes because it sounds like a very simple message. What we've done, though, we've focused on this as an IT issue. It's got nothing to do with IT. It is about user behaviour and how we treat each other with this technology.
From what you've said, it sounds as though the engagement of parents around this is a vital component as well. How do you ensure that the parents are on board?
Proving to them what the issues really are. We talk about this visceral response where we become overwhelmed. We have to stop that and get rid of it. I hear parents say that I don't understand Facebook, so I can't get in and become a friend. What I say to that parent is, can you drive a car? And they tell me, yes, that was difficult. The day a person sits in a car for the first time, they are overwhelmed by the complexity of the objects in front of them, the indicator, and all of that. They learn to drive because they see the value in becoming independent. It is very easy to be able to learn how to use Facebook compared to learning to drive a car. So we prove to them why it is very valuable for them to get into these networks and be next to their children. A physical representation of a child that has got 1,000 people connected to them in Facebook. Take a 10-year-old child, put them in a tent, and put 990 tents around that child with a stranger in each one. And for 2 weeks, just give food to that child every day, but those strangers have complete access to that child. They can look at the pictures they're posting, they can look at the information they're sending to the internet, they can go and visit the friends that child has got. That is a physical representation of a social network. When parents view it in that way, they are more motivated to be in one of those tents on the internet.
Is it important for you to stay completely up to date with all of the developments in social media, or is it really more about this values-based teaching that's important as far as you're concerned?
I do keep up to date as much as I can because of my other work around what cyber threats are internationally and nationally, and the risks that businesses face. I do keep up to date with that, and that does often influence what we teach within the classroom. So I think there are two parts. We do need to know what's going on out there so that we can shape education that best fits these young people.
John, I know you also work with the health sector and with business. Other areas that we could talk at length about, but it's been very interesting to talk with you this morning, particularly around the issues facing our youth with this. If someone wants to find out more about the programs that you make available, how can they do that?
They can go to s2e.co.nz. And they can see the programs and the breakdown of the programs there. And, at any time they can talk to me, via the contact form, and I'm happy to provide them with information about how they work.
Are you looking to engage with Dunedin schools? Have you got any on board at the moment?
Absolutely. Look, this is my first time in Dunedin, and I have to say it's a stunning city. Coming from London, where we've got these large architectural buildings made of bricks and things, I haven't been in Dunedin before, coming down from Nelson. And it's a beautiful place. And, we're hoping to come down and start working with the schools in this community as well.
Well, I want to thank you for joining us on the awesome morning show this morning, John. John Parsons, Internet Safety and Risk Assessment Consultant. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you very much.